SABC News, there are unconfirmed reports that President Jacob Zuma has fired 15 ministers. Now, we will be giving you an update on that story as the show goes on. But, I mean, looking at social media, Lulu.
It's a buzz. Social media, everyone is losing it. Just the build-up from the weekend on Sunday when Minister Pravin Gordhan was called back to the country, was recalled from an investor roadshow in the UK. And before Deputy Mcebisi Jonas could leave the country to the US, everything was halted, and right now social media is abuzz with unconfirmed reports of 15 ministers. There's talk of, is it 9 ministers and 6 deputy ministers?
Yes.
So there's been a build-up.
Yes, I mean, there has been a build-up, and we've seen it. I mean, and those rumors coming in and saying that, you know, some of the names are obviously Finance Minister Pravin Gordhan. We saw this one coming. Obviously, his deputy Minister Mcebisi Jonas. We also have our Health Minister, Aaron Mutwaledi. He's also in the mix there. And we also have Tula Singlesi. Now, for more on this, and I hope we can definitely get confirmation of this from our presidential correspondent, Mzwandile Mpecha. Mzwandile, what's going on? We see social media as a buzz. The news is quite heavy.
Yeah, indeed. Tabile, the news is quite heavy with all sorts of speculation. And but I can tell you that something has happened. Whilst there have been no official confirmation, but sources have indicated that major changes have happened. We are told from the sources that as many as 9 predominantly SACP ministers have been axed. And then the name of Sifiso Buthelezi is probably one name which has made it perhaps to the finance ministry. We don't have a confirmation whether it's the full ministry or is the deputy, but it looks like he is one minister that has been given the post of the finance minister. Indeed, as I'm saying, there's still a lot of confusion as well. You know, in this kind of speculation, people will mix facts and fiction. You know that earlier the president met with the top 5 and the various stakeholders. That did give an indication that he had made up his mind after the SACP press briefing as well, which confirmed that the president had said to them he intended to reshuffle the cabinet. So it was an open secret that the cabinet was going to be reshuffled. The question was when. So given what has happened in the last few hours, we also understand that some of those ministers affected, either appointed or dismissed, have been to Pretoria. So yes, at this stage, we're waiting for the official confirmation, but definitely there has been some movement.
Now, Mzwandile, let's just go back to the beginning of the week when all of this sort of came into the forefront, where there was the recall of Finance Minister from the UK at an investor roadshow, where we saw business coming out and saying this was a long-planned trip. Why the recall? Investors are getting wary. What does this really do? You know, the build-up has been gradual. Deputy Minister Mcebisi Jonas was stopped from leaving for the US, where he was going to handle another investor roadshow there. And it's been a gradual process. Speculation, unconfirmed reports, you know, everyone just putting their ideas in it. Your take on this, what are we likely going to see?
Obviously, markets will react in a particular way because, you know, every time the name of the finance minister got mentioned that he was going to be axed, so you'd see a negative reaction from the markets and the rand. But when nothing moved on that front, so they would somehow stabilize. So you would expect that that will definitely happen. But it's perhaps the choice of the new people that will be appointed that will have an impact on stabilizing those markets. It's been a long time coming. I think this speculation has been around for a very long time. The country will have to move on because the reality is that new people are in and the country can't stop. And it's going to be very interesting to see the markets. I think the initial reaction will be perhaps a negative reaction, but I think once they start to settle in terms of the fact that they have a new crop of other ministers, they'll probably bounce back in time.
Zondi, let's look at these ministers that have allegedly been fired. I mean, we obviously have been speaking about the Finance Minister, Pravin Gordhan, and his Deputy Mcebisi Jonas. But there's also our Health Minister, Aaron Motsoaledi. There's Thulas Nxesi there. Bladen Zimande could be there. What could have been the reasons behind this? I know you mentioned that SACP, briefing today where they were giving their take on this entire issue. But let's look at these ministers that have been mentioned individually, if we can.
Though we don't know the full list of the ministers affected, all we can say at this stage is that perhaps the majority, in all likelihood, are those that happen to be SACP members. You would know that the SACP has really been very confrontational when it comes to this issue. I mean, if you look at what happened in the press conference today, where they made it clear that despite that the president took them into confidence that he intended to reshuffle, they just came out clear to say, you know what, we don't agree with this, so we don't want it because whatever basis of the president to reshuffle, so they were not convinced. So given again that the ANC has decided to embark on what they call radical economic transformation, I would assume President Zuma would want perhaps a team he can trust to push that agenda. The issue of land has been very, very topical, and the issue of treasury enabling some of the programs and policies to move the country forward. So the issue of the white monopoly capital, it's one of the issues that has really been a big deal. So all those factors combined, Tabile, would have perhaps led to the president to decide to reconstitute his cabinet. Particularly with the SACP, I think the fights that have been open for some time have been really indicating that something was going to happen.
Now, Mzwandile, just looking at, you mentioned there the issue of a breakdown on relations for a lot of these ministers that are possibly going to be reshuffled or possibly fired. Now, just to mention another minister, Minister Faith Muthambi. Is this one of the ministers that we should expect that there should be a change, just looking at where the SABC has come from? Minister of Social Development, Bathabile Dlamini. Are these some of the names that we're likely going to see in this number of 15? And just looking at going forward, who are the possible likely people to fill in those ministerial departments? For instance, the Finance Department, are we likely to see Brian Molefe being shuffled into that position? And this is just speculation because we don't really know what exactly is happening and who has been moved or who is fired for good.
I think it will be very curious, Lulu, to look at the new cabinet, because South Africans, perhaps some South Africans, have a particular view on certain ministers. Those ministers that you have mentioned, some people feel they should have long been fired, but then you would find that they may not have been fired. So basically what is going to happen is that once the confirmation of those replaced or moved around has been released, you will have then the full understanding of South Africans what exactly was the president thinking, because South Africans feel some of the people are still left in their old positions despite the view that they did not perform well. So I suspect that might heighten tensions because if, let's say, for example, as the sources indicate that the SACP may have been biggest casualties, I think it will really heighten tensions because you'll see people who may be outside of government starting to fight big. It's really going to be very curious to see who's in and out. But of course, I think one thing we are almost certain about is that the Finance Minister, Pravin Gordhan, is almost certainly out of that ministry. Whether he's been dropped altogether in cabinet, it's another thing. You would start to see again people paying more scrutiny on who is appointed. Whilst the name of Brian has also been doing the rounds, so our sources say perhaps Fiso Tillis is the one who got the nod ahead of Brian.
So I will have to leave it there with you for now, but we'll definitely be speaking to you a little bit later on for an update. We now cross